I'm from Sarah Moon & Co. and I am a marketing and business strategist based in Portland, Oregon. I am super excited to have a super badass guest.
Oh, not a super badass. Come on.
The one and only Naquosha Anderson from Anderson Law. And Naquosha, how long have I known you? I feel like it's been a long time, but actually I don't think it has.
We kind of been in the same containers.
I feel like in the same orbit for a while.
We've been in each other's orbit for a while, but I would say our developing and budding, growing lotus flower friendship kind of kicked off at the top of the year. I think at the top of this year, kind of like, hey, I know you. I know. We kind of had that Spider-Man moment, you know?
Yeah, we did. So Naquosha is a client of mine, and I am a client of hers. So, which is kind of a fun.
It's a lot of incestuous things going on.
And what I think is very interesting. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I want to say this because this is what prompted us putting together this conversation.
Yes.
Is in working with Naquosha as a client, but also her as my client. What I learned is that what she does as a business and intellectual property attorney and also business strategist, and what I do over here on the marketing and business strategy side, there is so much intersection. It is remarkable. There's all these points where it's like what I do and what Naquosha does, they bump against each other and they impact each other. And it's blown my mind. It's really cool. So Naquosha, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell everyone what you do, who you do it for, all that kind of fun stuff.
Okay, awesome sauce. So hi everyone.
The history of Anderson Law Firm, because I think you've got an interesting background.
Yeah. So hi everyone. Again, my name is. I think Sarah put them allergies over here.
Sorry.
So hi everyone. Let's rewind. Hi everyone. My name is Nequosha Anderson. That's the same Q sound as in quote. So if you're still struggling, just say quote and then say Nequosha. So same Q sound. And I founded Anderson Law Firm back in 2013, actually. I was fresh off the boat of law school. I had just had my daughter. She was a newborn. So I took the Florida bar with a 40-day-old baby. So that is a feat in itself. So I had her and then took the bar, which is unheard of. So that's another story. We can talk about that with margaritas.
It's a good story.
It's a yes. But I started the firm because I was working for the former general counsel of Walt Disney World and Universal Studios here in Orlando. That's where I am. So I live where Mickey Mouse lives, and also that person who's all over media destroying the earth with other things, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So, but I live here and Mickey rules, everyone else drools. There's that. And I started my law firm because of my dad. So my dad owned a small business. He was a trucker and he had a unique way of routing his loads. He had a unique way of being fuel efficient. He used to study maps, study routes. He was obsessed. And so when he got a Fortune 100 company to take notice of him, they gave us a contract. And that contract changed our lives. I'm talking, we went from oodles to noodles to I like my steak medium, please. So it was one of those types of transitions. And then once the Fortune 100 company started noticing that my dad's trucks, because he started getting people working under him, started coming in a lot faster than others that they had on their team, they asked us to come down and chat with them. So they wined us, dined us, the whole 9 yards, buttered us up, literally, and got my dad to share his methodology on how he was routing the trucks and, bringing them in. And little did we know that at that time, how impactful that was for their business. So they got all the information they needed from my dad, because it was just like, we were like, oh, you want to talk to us? Oh, sure. What do we know? Fast forward about 6 months after that meeting, we lost the contract because they found some type of way to say we did something magically. We were doing great all this time, but now we're bad, horrible people. but we later soon found out that they data mined my dad. Now, at the time, I was a young teenager. I had no idea what that was. I was just so excited to go from oodles to noodles to steak. Okay. And I went to law school. I know, fast forward, went to college. Then I went to law school. And then I took an interest always in tech. So I've always been in tech, always. And so that was my passion. And then one day, my dad, he was rebuilding our trucking business, and, coming back from that loss, he was like, okay, well, my dad, he used to call me Duke. He was the only person who called me that. And he would go, Duke, well, how was school going? And I was telling him I was having a hard time. And he was like, well, I don't really know what you're doing with all them computers. So have you ever thought about being like a lawyer or a doctor or something? One, don't want to be a doctor. Don't do blood. Hell no, no ma'am. So there's that. And then a lawyer thing I didn't really think about, but he told me to really just consider it. So my dad planted that seed. And then next semester, a technology and the law, or contracts and technology, kind of came up as an elective, and I took it. And the rest, they say, is history. So my dad has always been my biggest supporter with becoming a lawyer, and then merging tech with it involved intellectual property, but being exposed to business allowed me to understand how business operates at an early age. So I credit my dad with starting my firm. I credit my dad with all the things that you see presented to you today. So he's the reason why, because after I learned what, reflecting back what happened to my dad, I learned that my dad was actually data mined for his intellectual property. So that is why I selected my practice area, to make sure that people who start businesses with the same passion and charisma and drive like my dad don't be robbed of theirs. I don't want you to be robbed of what's rightfully yours, because you took the time to create it. It's your blood, sweat, energy, and it is worthy of protection. Okay? I want you to know it is worthy of protection. No matter how small you think you are in this grand scheme of things, what you bring to the table is worthy of protection. Okay? So that's my why. That is why I'm doing what I'm doing. That is why I'm here. So I know you have a lot of choice, but my job is to educate. And my job is to make sure you're seen. And my damn job, the one that I'm committed to my late father, is to make sure you are protected. So that's what I do. That is my why. And that's why I'm here.
I am, yeah, and I think you have brought something forward that this is one of the reasons, aside from that I just think you're cool, that I wanted to have you talk to everyone, is because you really hit on something that for me. So I'm going to make this about me for just a second. Apologies, everyone. So I create a lot of stuff. I mean, Nequosha, see, it's
a lot.
It's a lot of stuff. I'm always creating stuff. And my mentality is I really believe in radical generosity. I share every Friday, and often if you're newer to my world, you get emails from me on Tuesdays too. And I'm always sharing stuff. And to me, it's create it, then share it. Right. And what I have discovered from being educated, thanks to Naquosha, is that whenever we're creating something powerful, so my clients in our Spark Sessions program or in our accelerator, who I am helping create frameworks and content strategies for, they need to be thinking about not just create, share. They're missing a step, right? So you want to tell us a little bit about what that step is that they're missing?
Yes. So my formula hits on that, but expands a little more, right? So my methodology, I think that the term on Al Gore's internets is framework, is
and I love a framework.
Come on, somebody.
I'm always coming at people with frameworks.
So my framework is this, and that is not the dynasty, if you're a Jay-Z fan, is for you to create, protect, and then you share. So if you put it in the ends of a triangle, it's split into 3 sections. Your base is where you're creating. That's where your idea is in your head, and you take it out and you do some type of action to make it a reality. So this is where you're, coming up with your prototypes. you're, sourcing people to try to help you bring it to life. Photography, graphic, strategists, the whole nine yards. You're like, I have this idea and I want to make it real. So that is what you do with the create stage.
And
But often,
can I interject something here?
of course,
Because I want folks to really listen to this, because it's not just creating your business that you're at this stage. It's like if you're
no,
adding a new offer,
yes,
if you are taking what you're doing and going from one-to-one to group situation, you're creating if you're developing a process for your service, like that is creating. And that's something I think a lot of us who are, especially because business owners who are doing well, tend to just, it's almost like second nature. You're just
Mhm.
always ideating and create, and you don't really realize like, oh, I just developed a whole new process. Or I am calling you out
Uh-oh.
because I love Haslin Jamar. He is one of my favorite people on this planet. He is the stereotype of this, always creating like better processes and better offers and refining. It's like that is all part of that level of creation. It's not just when you start your business.
Nope. 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 It's not, it's definitely not when you're creating your business. And I think that's a misconception for a lot of online creatives.
Yep.
You think, oh, I already established my business. I'm good, Nequosha. I'm good. I don't really need you. What are you talking about? Well, if you have a new offer, if you have a new program, if you are dropping a specialized, here's a good tool to know. If you're dropping a specialized Thrive Cart, Kajabi, Calendly, and you put a special name at the end of it because you want to separate it from something else you're doing, it's a new something that deserves to be protected. So that's another way for you to know where you are in this particular, journey. We'll call it that. In this journey, as you're creating, oftentimes you will do that very thing I just said. You'll start dropping links. You'll start driving traffic. You'll start getting people to buy, because if you are part of this online world, the method is we create it, we link it, they buy it. We create it, we send out that link, and they buy it. Well, there's a few things in between you creating and sending out that link that we need to do to make sure you rightfully own it. And that's where people kind of miss the mark, and it creates a lot of problems that they can't see right away. Because as soon as you start sharing that link and you're not doing the P part, which is protect, now you're exposed. And this is where people prey on you. Another P word. They prey on you and they are watching what you do. And this is often where, unfortunately, because you went to create and then you went to share, when it's time to protect, it may cost you a little bit more in time and, unfortunately, your resources. Because if we do it before we share it, we often can take advantage of some special savings that can save us time and money. But you would only know that, of course, if you knew what you know, if you knew what you didn't know. But that's why I'm here, right?
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And that's why I'm here to try to make it easier for you to remember where you are in your process, so then you can at least think about what it is I need to do at this particular stage of the game. And so linking up with Sarah has been the best wildfire experience I've ever experienced in my life. She was literally, her and Smokey the Bear are not the friends, because we don't want to prevent forest fires. We actually want her to help you create them, because it's going to blow up your world in a whole different way. I did the Spark session with Sarah, and it literally has changed my business. I literally had to, let me tell y'all, and this is no lie, and I will literally drop the Stripe account. And this is not, she doesn't know I'm going to say this, but I literally had two of my Spark sessions with Sarah in April, and by May I had the best month of my entire firm.
I didn't know that.
I know.
Well, I didn't. I just put in the chat. I did not tell you to say that.
She didn't tell me. I literally had
I'm
two.
like I'm turning red. I'm so pasty. I don't know if y'all can tell, but like I am
I
turning
had
red.
2 of my 3 Spark sessions with Sarah. In May, I had the best month of my entire firm
Well, I didn't know that. Thank you.
because I was able to get it out in a like I knew what I wanted to say and how I want to do it. But Sarah was like, "But Nequosha, it's so simple. You do this and you do this. That's what I do." And so she made it very plain for me. So I'm anything Sarah Moon calls and asks me to do, she's one of those people who will immediately get my attention. And anything she asks, I will provide, I will drop. And we all know those people in our roster that if we see their name pop up in an email, text message, phone call, whatever it is, you're gonna, hey, I need to take this. And you got it. And she's one of those people that will always have that ability for me.
That's
And everybody
so
know
nice. I'm gonna cry.
everybody know I keep my phone on do not disturb. So if you get
I know I
added,
keep mine on do not disturb too.
so
oh
if
my
I see
God, why
something
is this
from you,
thing
I'm
making
going to
sound?
respond throughout the day. So when she asked me to come to share with you all some foundational things that you could do to make sure you are protected in what you create, I want you to take advantage because I'm here for as long as Sarah will have me. I am here for as long as you need. But before we get into some of the things that you may need from me, I want you all to know that ethically, I have to say this, it's nothing you did, but I am not your personal attorney yet. Anything that I say here will be general advice. It is not personalized for your particular situation. So if you hear me talk in generalities, it's not because I don't like you or I didn't enjoy your question. It's just because ethically, I have to answer that way because we are not in an attorney-client relationship. So if you do want to change that, there's something that we can do later on to do that. But I just want to let you know from the beginning. So, Sarah, you let me.
I did mention that at the top of the chat, but it got lost.
That's
And
okay.
that's just I think a lot of folks don't understand attorneys aren't doing that to be jerks. It's literally you get disbarred.
Literally. And
Literally.
literally. And so I definitely don't want to do that. I enjoy my profession. I enjoy helping people and moving the needle forward so that the things that they create, they actually own. Because I don't think people correlate because the internet is so, vast and it's like the wild, wild west. And people think, well, I just put it out there on Al Gore's internet. It's not really mine. But actually, when you are running a business, you have to run it the same way you would if it was an offline business. Rules and regulations apply in order for you to actually grow and scale. And if you've been around the COVID era, you understand that there were so many people who thought that they just needed a PayPal link and they could just put it out there and people would buy it. And yes, people did do that, but the buyer now is more sophisticated than ever because so many charlatans have taken their money and they have not had the transformation that they were promised. So now they are very skeptical and leery, and it is taking much longer than ever before to close things that used to come so quickly. So now it is time to understand that now you need to regroup and assess who you're, helping and what product you have that will best serve them in this stage.
I have absolutely observed that as well. That buyers want to know that you have. I mean, I've had people literally ask me if I have business insurance recently, which I've never. I mean, I do, but I mean, I do. Please, if y'all don't have business insurance, please go out and get business insurance.
It's actually cheaper than you may think.
It's very cheap. I just got my bill. It's minimal.
It's very, very doable. I'm talking less than $100 doable.
Yeah, it's very inexpensive. But I've never had questions like that I have in this last year. Buyers are very and there are still, and this is something I know this isn't necessarily what we're talking about. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom people out there. There are still high quality buyers out there. They ask tough questions and they are making decisions very intentionally. And that actually is a good thing. And protecting your assets, I think, actually presents to those buyers that you are a serious business who will be here for the long haul. That you're not just going to do one project and then be gone, that you will be there for them 5-7 years down the line. And that's actually that is a signal to that audience that you are premium, frankly. I wanted to ask you about what kinds of protections people can leverage, because I think that's something I think a lot of folks may think trademark, because it's kind of the sexy one, right?
Yeah. It is. She's that girl right now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Trademark is that girl.
But
We
it's
have to
not
relate
just
it.
trademarks, it's
Mm,
contracts, copyright, lots of things. So would you
yes.
kind of give us a general idea of what, and I know you have like a diagram and stuff and that sort of thing too that you may want to show people.
Okay. Yeah. I'll find that in a second. I'll get it pulled
Okay.
up. So I always tell people, and I used to watch Sex in the City. So Trademark is like Sarah Jane Parker, right? She is popular, good, bad, and different. That's the one most people, know. But
Yeah,
then you
got the
have,
poofy skirts,
yeah,
yeah.
Trademark is very visible. Most people, you are encountering trademarks on your desk, on your computer right now. The other part of the crew is Miranda. Miranda is stable. Miranda is, history. Miranda is very, very rule. And that's where I kind of put copyright. So copyright is one of the original intellectual property tools. And it's one that most people kind of think, oh, it's just a copyright. But she is actually, and if you watch the show, Miranda was actually very confident, strong. She knew what she wanted, and it took her a little while to identify with who she wanted, but she got there. But eventually, once she did, her presence was very known, right? That redhead was very known. And copyright is similar to Miranda. I want you all to get a strong, stable foundation, because copyright goes for the life of the author plus 70 years. So, what are the things you can potentially copyright? You can copyright your videos. I saw Jamar's name, so it made me think of that. So,
Oh, yeah,
your
but
YouTube.
you have my permission as Jamar's number one fan
Okay.
to use him as an example however you want.
Perfect. So once you connect with Jamar and create your YouTube videos, and Jamar, this might be something you want to include in your packaging, is once we create your videos, we're going to connect you to how to copyright them. Because YouTube copying and things is very prevalent. And the only way you can get YouTube to actually move for you is if you demonstrate that you are the lawful owner of that video. And they do that by asking you, do you have a registration? And this is something that can aid you in your defense of establishing that is yours. So, some other things outside of videos include graphics. How many of us are on Sarah Moon's email? We love the graphics. I love the graphics. I love the graphics. So, the things that Sarah creates to demonstrate for us to learn are eligible for copyright protection, because she's using it as an educational tool and it came from her brain. Like, she synthesized the lines, and even if she calls them scribbles, these are things that she's using, that she created. She's the author of those scribbles. So those are eligible for copyright protection. And the other thing that we most interact is books, of course. When you write a book, hello, copyright protection. You do podcasting. So some of you may help your clients create content with podcasting, or you may be a podcaster. These are things that are eligible for copyright protection. And here's a side note: that girl, Miranda, AKA Copyright, has a thing that if you do a group of like-minded work, so let's say you connected with Jamar and he had a package where he was going to create at least 10, a maximum of 10 videos for you that you haven't released yet, they could all be grouped in one copyright filing. Hello, money savings before you publish them. The Copyright Office is slow with any government tool here in the United States. We're slow, but they're doing their best to get caught up. And so they now have a package to where you can copyright 10 works. When I say works, I mean like all videos, all graphics, all those things together, so long as you haven't published them, for one filing fee. If you wait till after you publish them, and when I say publish, I mean give out to the world, that's that share component. you then have to copyright each individual component separately. So this is some cost savings. These are some insider tips that connecting with someone like me, intellectual property, and especially a business strategist, could help you save money. So then it won't be so fearful when you are ready to, protect what's rightfully yours. So I just want you all to start thinking about Miranda and copyright. Okay, next we have, oh, you want to say something?
I was going to say, we're going to talk about contracts next, right?
Yes, Charlotte is contracts. So Charlotte is, Charlotte in the Sex and the City show, she was always a little confused, but she still knew what she was talking about. So contracts can be confusing, but you still kind of know what you're talking about, right? And you know you need them, but there's many ways that a contract can take you. Just like Charlotte was unsure of who she wanted to end up with. She knew she wanted to get married. She knew she wanted a baby, but she didn't know how to do it. That's contracts. So Charlotte and contracts go hand in hand. You need them. I don't want you to have anyone ever, ever, ever tell you you don't need a contract. You do. Contracts are not just for the benefit of you, they're for the benefit of your client. It is for the benefit of your connection. Why, Nequosha? And if you get on my email list, you'll hear me say that a lot. If you follow me on social, I talk in third person. Why, Nequosha? Because if something were to happen, you want to know the terms of your relationship. You want to know what, when, where, and how I'm supposed to behave. It's sort of like when you go over, if you were a kid and your parent gave you that talk before you went to someone's home, you know how to behave when you get here. You better sit down. You better not mess up these people's stuff. A contract is like the rules of engagement when you go to someone's house. It's like, this is how we operate together. And if you don't agree, don't come in my house. If you don't agree, don't sign this contract. Don't pay me any money.
One of those for my house?
If you don't agree, don't come to my house. There may be a rug. I mean, they may have because you have to make sure that you outline the terms of engagement. Now, there may be some of you like, Nequosha, I don't have a separate agreement, so I'm okay, right? Well, yes and no, because you're still operating out here on Al Gore's internet.
These are folks that are selling courses and such, just to be
perfect. So even if you don't have
just making sure I know I'm tracking.
Thank you. So even if you don't have a separate agreement for your course or, your offer, your online ability, you have a sales page. You have a sales email funnel. You have social media selling, copy, messaging, all those things, right? Well, in the eyes of the law, we call those advertisements. And advertisements are what we do to call in people that we want to call in. And when they take an action, hello, call to action, when they click that button and give you their credit card information, they have accepted your invitation. In the eyes of the law, we call that offer and acceptance. My friends, you have a contract. So even if you don't have something separate, you still have a contract. So please make sure that the things that you are writing on your sales page, the things that you're writing in your sales funnel emails, the things that you're putting in your call to actions and on your social medias are actually valid claims. Okay. And this is something that I do and I review in my audit. So if you are unsure what that looks like, we can definitely talk later about getting you set up with an audit, because most people don't know that those sales pages, even if you take the page link down, as we all know, nothing dies on the internet. So if you have a disgruntled person who claims that you promised them X and you're like, no, I took that page down, I don't know what you're talking about. Well,
welcome to archive.org.
Hello, somebody. And they will come to me and they'll say, Nequosha, I didn't get what I was supposed to get. And I'm going to say, where's your contract? And they're going to say, I don't have one. And I'm going to say, well, what marketing material did you respond to? Well, I got a sales page. I got a sales email. I got all these things. And I'm going to say, send them over. And I'm going to review them. And I'm going to see what you promised. And I'm going to ask my client, did you get this? And they're going to say no. And when you get that nasty gram, AKA demand letter from me, you're not going to be happy because you're going to think, I deleted that sales page. How did they find it? And these are the reasons why having an agreement and understanding what you're putting out there could leave you open. But don't fret. If you come and you do some, pre-work and make sure the things that you're putting out there is actually sustainable. I'll share with you all just from experience. Right now, I'm in the middle of this. At the top of the year, I signed up for a sales, like a mastermind type thing for sellers or something. And I paid for the annual membership because it was cheaper. Well, the creator of that discontinued the program, but didn't tell me anything. I never got an email. I just know that one day I was like, oh, let me go. I remember a resource from this person. Let me go look at the resource. Well, the Facebook page was gone. The group was defunct. The link no longer worked. And I'm like, did I miss something? Did we go to, Circle or Mighty Networks or something? Let me go look at my email. Look at my email. I got my sales receipt because Google is that girl with search. I got the sales receipt. I got the emails I responded to, but I got no other correspondence. And then I'm like, well, what about the contract? There is no contract, but I still got access to that sales page because I still kept all those emails. And that person didn't take down the link. So what did Nequosha do? She screenshotted that whole thing that talked about how this was an annual program, that talked about how I was going to get this in my annual membership. Well, if you cancel something midway and someone paid for access for a year, you broke the contract. So where my money? For the other few months that I'm not getting. These are all things that I need content creators.
This is something that I think is what a contract is one of those things, again, that I have been really educated by you about, because I think of the things I've joined in the past where I've had that same thing. I'm like, okay, but the sales page I bought into said XYZ, but now we don't get XYZ because we've changed direction. And that felt icky, but I thought I didn't know.
And so they needed to communicate with you. And sometimes if you go to people's terms and conditions and how they work, like if you all have a course, you need to make sure your terms and conditions outline that, hey, we may substitute some of our offerings at any time and you agree to this. Or you may need to make sure people are aware of what they are actually signing up for, because life happens. You think you might can do 3 calls in a month, but you come to find out, oh girl, I can't do 3 hot seats in a month. I can't do that. So if that's not your jam, set people up at the beginning, and that will keep down a lot of the legal headaches. Like when I say legal headaches, we've all been on social or whatever and seen people say, this person just did a chargeback on me. This is my first chargeback. I don't know what to do. Well, getting a chargeback is actually not the worst thing that could ever happen to you. It's actually one of the best things, because I call them mini record audits. This is your time to make sure that you are keeping great records in your business. What does a great record keeping to help a chargeback look like, Naquosha? Oh, so glad you asked me. So one of the key things that you want to make sure that is you keep the sales page, keep an archive of that. Keep an archive of their receipt. Make sure, keep an archive of any contracts or any agreements that they signed indicating what they were getting when they would start. Now, if you're like most people, Nequosha, I have like a course and we do like monthly meetings and check-ins and hot seat coaching and all that type of stuff, then if that person engaged with your course in any way, make sure you are on a platform that tracks their access. Make sure you're on a platform that tracks how many times they logged in, what they did when they were there. All of this can aid you in your defense of, I don't know what they're talking about when they say that they didn't get access because this was the login that was sent to this email that's attached to this credit card that we got, which is also the same thing that is on this person is disputing. Same email, how convenient. Oh, they logged in here. Oh, they gave me a rave review about the project here. How is it that they did all of this but didn't get the program? How that work? all of this
I really
is,
like this dramatic interpretation, by the way. I didn't know we were here for a performance, but I'm so
listen,
glad that
girl,
it
I'm
happened.
dramatic. I'm an only child. I had to entertain myself. You're going to get all these things.
Oh, this is why we get along. Also, only child over here. It all makes sense now.
I call them my people.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, these are the ways that you can, insulate. I'm not saying you're not going to get one, but these are some best practices that can aid you in making sure you defend and you got all the receipts. And you're talking to a lawyer who got an A minus in her evidence class. Okay. And that was 4 credits. That was a tough bookie in law school. I got an A minus, and Michael somebody got the A plus. It was only 2 A's given, and this girl got one. So evidence is my jam. You want to talk about going down a rabbit hole and keeping track? That's me. So if you want to be petty boots, come let me see what you have, and we can do this in the audit, and I can see if you're going to be exposed or give you some best practices to kind of shore that up, because petty boots is your girl and they are white. Okay.
So I actually wanted to go back to the copyright thing because I think you blew my mind a lot with
Oh, okay.
copyright and what
Yeah.
it can. Is that okay? So one of the things I did not realize, and this is I just want you all to understand how much stuff I have. And I'm smart. I have been in business for 15 years. I am smart. I know about content. I know about all this stuff. But I did not realize how much stuff I had that was worth protecting. That is because it's like it is again, like you're just making stuff.
Mhm.
And so for example, I have an evergreen email sequence that goes out. Everyone who signs up for my list, they get my Friday emails, but they also get an email on Tuesdays. And that is a very intentionally designed evergreen sequence that because it gives people a really good baseline of understanding what I'm about, like all the stuff that I teach, all that kind of thing. And I have just thought of those are just these emails.
No, that's content. That's an asset. You created it.
It is a valuable asset. It is a valuable asset. And I just hadn't thought of it that way. And so there's so many examples like that, like when thinking through, it's not just like nerds like me with like our frameworks and our diagrams.
Yeah.
It is something like that welcome sequence email that really helps people new to your world, your audience, really galvanize. That is a very valuable asset. And I didn't even think of it because, like, of course I have an evergreen sequence. Like, who doesn't have an evergreen sequence? That's a totally normal thing to have.
But the way you synthesized your evergreen sequence and the way you curate, let me just use another word, the way you curated your content requires your brain to translate that into some type of medium, right? And those are the basis of a copyright, right?
Right.
It's an idea transfixed into a permanent medium, fixed permanent medium. So the only way we'll be able to access those emails is in that fixed methodology, right?
Yeah.
So most people don't think that the way they put stuff together is worthy of protection, like you said.
Did not occur to me.
It's an asset, because think about it. You could then protect that asset, leverage that asset, and that can generate more revenue, because the way Sarah Moon curates emails has an ability to move people to do something. And that's usually get educated on something and then usually come to her to get the solution to have the ultimate transformation that they have. And how many of us would love to learn how she did that? I put this type of email here because usually with this type of content, they're here. So Nequosha, we need to do X. And then after they do this, they're going to ponder, and then we're going to bang them with this. Because when I looked at the data, and we all, if you are here for Sarah, you already know that girl is about that data. So she will be able to back that thing up. Hashtag juvenile, go watch the Tiny Desk. She will back that thing up with some data, and you will be on point because you're going to get it, because she's going to be able to back that thing up. So I need for you to know that you too probably have something you can back that thing up. Exactly. And I need for you to protect that thing.
And once that's and so what again, like really was clarifying for me in working with you is that, so those emails are to me are such a great example because it seems like something so basic.
Basic.
But it's okay, so those are protected. What other doors could that open up once they're protected? Someone could look at licensing, they could look at certifications, they could look at there's so many once you have the protection, it's not a closed door. It's actually like opening a new door and new opportunities and providing you with so many more. I mean, those emails I could, turn into something that could be a program that I could train people to do the same thing that I do. I mean, there's so many options, but without that baseline of protection, that's not possible.
No. So most people will say, well, Nequosha, what about in the US? Don't I just get copyright for everything that I create? You do. We call it common law. However, you want to register your work because you get more. The federal government wants you to create, and they want to incentivize you to create by helping you protect it with the federales. I call it the federales. That's the federal government behind you. Because if someone is caught red-handed creeping with the girl next door, i.e. your stuff, then you can go to federal court. They will let you go to the federal courthouse and sue them, no matter where they are in the United States. So that's an added benefit. You also get access to something called damages. Damages just means money, hashtag Cardi B. You could get access to more money if you have your work registered versus if it's not, you would have to prove how you owned it. Because if you register it, and you're successful in your registration, you are the rightful owner until somebody comes in with another something to try to say that you're not. But in the eyes of the federal government, well, that person registered. So their presumption is that is the owner. And until we get shown otherwise, we're going to, go with that one. That's our person. That copyright I always call her strong but mighty, because she can do some powerful things for you, especially if we get into a situation where we need to leverage something that may not be available for trademarking. We can definitely consider copywriting it and give you another 1-2 punch. So there's that. Someone put in the chat, is it okay if I answer that question?
I was going to say, I have 2 questions in the question bar that are related specifically to artists and artwork. Is that cool if we?
Yes, I will speak in very general terms.
Yeah,
but
and they're both pretty general questions.
Oh, great.
One is from my pal Heather Polly, and Heather is a website designer. I know quite a bit about her business, and a lot of her clients are artists, and they're nervous about putting their artwork online. What kind of general tips do you have for who are doing visual works to make sure that they're protected? And then there was another question that was basically the same, like, how does this work for artwork? Like, is there anything people doing visual art, graphic design, painting, drawing that they should particularly be thinking about?
Yes. So you need to get unless you want to send in the original artwork, which I don't think you want to the copyright archives, you need to get some type of copy, like a photograph or some type of digital format that we can upload, because you have to create some type of specimen that can be kept into the copyright archives so they can cross-reference who's the owner. So once you do that, if you're going to upload it to an online website, one of the key things that I see people do is embed a lot of metadata into the file.
That was going to be my thought too.
They embed a lot of metadata to the file, so that way, if it does get transferred, you know what certain things are, and the only way that person got access to it is if they copied from you. The other thing is, if you are posting online, make sure you put the C symbol, put any type of embedded watermarks if you can. You can try your best, but I mean, people are going to copy, but there are some tools that you can use to reverse search images that for a fact that you've uploaded to try to track if someone is infringing on your artwork. But you will have better leverage, especially with artwork, if you federally register it, because you will have a federal protection tool to help you fight versus if you don't. So I always encourage my artists to make sure they copyright. Copyright is not as expensive as trademarking. It's something that is fairly quickly. It doesn't take as long as well. I know resources, especially with artists, can be at the forefront, but I would highly, highly recommend that copyright is something that artists, especially visual artists, photographers, the like, take advantage of, because your work, because of how transferable it is, how quickly it can transfer, is more susceptible to infringement. And so you want to do your best to make sure you protect it as quickly as you can. If you have multiple works that you're doing at the same time that you haven't published yet, the Copyright Office has different ways you can copyright more things to try to get more bang for your buck. You have the unpublished package that I talked about. You also have the compilation way you can file if you have a compilation of stuff. So you can try to leverage that as much as you possibly can. That would be the best thing for any type of visual, any type of artist, but especially a visual style artist, for sure.
So, sort of a follow-up question. How long are the processes for both trademark and copyright taking in the US right now? Because I know we've got folks who aren't in the US and it is different in other places, but we're just talking about the US.
Yes. So one of the things with trademarking is, we told you she's Sarah Jane Parker for a reason. She's the it girl. And so as a result of her being very popular right now, the USPTO is extremely behind. So what used to take about 9 months in total is now about over a year, 18 months. But don't fret, because you're like, girl, what? I got a what? A year and a half. It's with trademarking, it's not the first to create, it's the first to file. So one of the key things is we want to go ahead and lock in your priority filing date as quickly as we possibly can, because that puts people on notice. So while your application is pending, you have the benefit of having the database put people on notice that your application is pending, even though you haven't, finished your part of the application. So again, trademarking takes about a year, a little over a year now. And with copyright, on the flip side, she's easier. She takes about, on average, anywhere between 4 to 6 months, but she's been coming back much faster. The Copyright Office, I told you, she's that strong and mighty, and they process much faster than the Trademark Office. They can kind of teach the girlies over there what to do. So the Copyright Office can process, I've seen, in 60 days, but on average about 90 days or so, you can get your copyright registration back. So it's fairly quick. That's a good question. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a great question, because let's see. Oh yeah, and she said also that she's wondering about compilations, so that's also.
Oh yeah, so you can group things together in a compilation, but remember, it needs to be certain specifications to meet that criteria. So you can always go to copyright.gov here in the US, and they have what they call circulars, where they break down the criteria for each type of filing. Now, I will not lie to you, that thing is confusing.
It is. I looked it up.
They do not write for "Are you smarter than a fifth grader?" They don't write in that tone. It take me sometimes to like print it out and literally sit and read it, because they write in double negatives. So it's like, if not.
They need a spark session with me to be able to.
You might could get federal funding to rewrite some of them circulars. Who knows? They may have a RFP going on. I tell everyone, the government is the biggest spender, and so if you're looking for clients, don't be afraid to apply to work for the government, because even in economic downturns, the government still has to keep going.
I absolutely, my very first client in my business was a government entity, and I don't know why people are afraid to go for those.
Listen,
they
got money.
Once you get into those systems, like, you can become like a preferred vendor, and
it's nice. I used to work for the government. Sarah used to work for the government. You could, Jamar.
The Jamar.
Girl, okay, let me tell you.
Workshop this for a second.
Can we spotlight? Okay, let me tell you. This is like a little.
I'm like, can we bring Jamar on here?
Let me tell you what you could do with the videos. Oh, let me tell you. So there are like I used to work in the education. I was a part of one of the biggest districts in the United States. And they had an in-house marketing creative department, but
I ran one of those departments at a
they outsourced graphics, videography, they outsourced the copying, the messaging. We outsourced a good portion of
Yep.
that. Okay. And so procurement was always looking for vendors, especially those who registered, got their certifications. So if you meet one of the criterias, like you're woman owned, you're a color owned, you're veteran, you are disability, like I think it's
there's also like where I live, there's like a disadvantaged economic zone.
Yes, if you live in a hub zone, if your business is designated in a hub zone, like you get certain points for. So the more checks you can tick, they have to bump your application. It means you will win out a lot of blue collar big wig companies because you meet
literally how I got my first. Yep.
And so if you start local, of course, you can get certifications on the local level. Then you can do it on the state level. And then from there, you can.
Jamar's brain.
I think we did. And then you can go on a federal level. There is money to be had. There is money to be had. But before you go do these things, make sure you have a proper legal foundation. Because
and they are going to look at, do you have insurance? Do you have your like off the shelf contract will not fly.
No.
Like you will need to have, I mean, there's just, they want to have like everything spelled out, like what's going to happen, who's going to do it, are you subcontracting this out, what insurance do you have for the subcontractors,
where keys do you have, where's the data going to be housed in the event of an emergency, what is your backup plan?
Like if you die, where's the stuff stored?
Do you have a drug policy? Do you have a drug and substance policy? Because I know a lot of us, this is where we say if you set up the foundation early and in your creation phase for all your offers and services, it can open up the door. You can start leveraging. They'll ask you, are you using any proprietary methods? So you can say, hey, I have specialized IP. And so I've done this before. I have a track record of transformation document.
This is also one of the reasons I like, not to make it about like my company, because we're here to talk about legal protections. This is also one of the things I say to people when I find out they don't have a framework or a methodology or a model. Like, I don't care what you use it, but you all have seen my Venn diagrams, right? And I've got several others. Those kinds of assets, if you hear all the, all the people out on Facebook or whatever talking about how you can get corporate clients, if you do not have a foundational methodology that you have documented, preferably in some kind of visual way, you cannot get corporate clients. You cannot get these government clients. You cannot get these big nonprofit clients. All these entities have money to spend. They are going to spend it with someone who has a proven track record and a system that they know gets results. Yep. So you may have a great system out there and you may be able to just rattle it off to your team. Like, well, we do this and then we do this and then we do this. Those entities do not care that you can just say like, well, we do this. They want to see it. And then they want to see it and they want to see that it's written down, that it is something that they can look at. I mean, that is why I share mine so often, is so that it is super clear that yes, I have a track record, that I have developed something that is a specific model and system. And then, on the other hand, obviously, if you have that, you need to protect it. That's where Nequosha can help you.
And remember at the top of this call, how Sarah said that what she does and what I do is so integrated and connected. This is what we mean, that you can't really have one without having the other. It's like love and marriage. So mine is the Ted Bundy. So I need for you to literally do this. Make it a part of your strategic planning. We're about to come up on Q3, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're about to come up on Q3 of the year. So it's important that if you do strategic, even a mini strategic planning, outline for yourself, what priority level is this? Do I have a new launch coming up? Is the name of my new product actually available before I launch it? I run into so many creatives who have courses that are named after someone else's course. And because they didn't necessarily do some steps before they launched, all their marketing assets, domains, URLs, all that has to be redone. And look
Yeah.
how long it may take you to create a lot of that. Those funnels. I mean, we have zaps that go to here, to go to there, to go to this.
Oh, the
I don't
zaps.
I don't want to have to redo all of that. I don't want to have to reroute people to a different platform and do all that. That takes time, money, and energy, baby. All of which could be eliminated if I just do some simple search. And no, I don't mean Google. And no, you may have seen someone say, hey, this is how you do a search on the Trademark website. I want you all to
It is
know
not the same.
it's not. And I want you all to know that there are several businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses, that don't have websites, that don't have any presence on social media, and they're making a lot of money. So you can't just go off of the Google or Bing or whoever you're using to get you clearance on whether or not something is available. You need some access to some proprietary softwares that I pay a lot of money for, and it generates 100 pages of reports that I review every
And I
single
have
time.
seen one of those for my framework name. And because I did my due diligence, I looked up the domains, like I did all the things, right?
Mhm.
Looked up the domains, did a deep Google search, looked up, I know enough to look up in the trademark office and see what's, it went from there being really nothing out there to there being hundreds of things out there.
And
Right?
similar things. It's not just like your exact phrasing. You may spell it one way, but
Potential
someone
for confusion.
that is the criteria. Is there potential for consumers to be confused? And in the world that we live in, people like to drop vowels, but still pronounce things in the normal method. And so they may have a signature logo or something that you may say movement, but they say MVNT, and it's, no, you know how they do. So it'd be throwing me off because I'd be like, how you say that? But that's neither here nor there. What I want you all to know is there are intellectual property tools that are available for you that are easy access, and you may want to consider it. Because I didn't show the visual, so I'll just show it really quickly.
I pulled it up if it's the same one I still have.
Oh, perfect. Yes, it is that
Is it
exact
the
same
one
one.
from Canva that we did together
Mhm, yeah.
in our Spark sessions?
And our Spark sessions. This graphic has been transformative in my business
I'm looking.
because it has allowed me to talk about and communicate what I do in a way that I hadn't been able to do before. So when you come to me and you sit down, I can definitely pinpoint very quickly where you are in your process based upon some of the things you tell me, and then where you land on the mountain of ownership. And you'll see in a second. Where you land will tell us what steps we need to take. So it creates the glide path for you, and it makes it very streamlined so you understand. So yes, here we are. So this is the mountain ownership. And I want you to know that when you're at the create phase, which is the bottom level, you're developing your prototype, you're developing your offer, you're developing your visual aid, your book, your podcast, your YouTube video. You're just developing it. And at each stage does come with a level of protection, right? That you need to think about. So when you're protecting confidentiality, when you're protecting at the prototype or creation phase, confidentiality is your friend. You're all concerned about, I don't want this shared. I don't want this to get into the wrong hands who may beat me to it because they have more resources than me. So confidentiality is all about at the prototype stage. Okay. Those are your NDAs. Those are your making sure you just protect and don't share with everyone, because everyone don't need to know what you're doing. Okay. And then after you get a prototype or you got your baseline of your offer, now you need to start giving it out to the public, or you may do a beta, right? You may get a founder's level. If that's the case, then you need to make sure that the people you're engaging has some type of written contract. Because remember, we talked about having some form of agreement that will gauge the terms of the relationship. So those are your services agreement. Those are your terms and conditions on your website. Those are your privacy policy. You're generating interest. So you need to make sure when someone is interested, what type of protection you have in place to protect your prototype, to protect your baby, protect your thing. And then once you do that, then you can level up and then you can start selling it. Because then once you start selling it, you're committed. You are have the interest and desire to protect it. Like if someone would come to me and say, Naquosha, how do I know if I'm ready to protect my stuff? And I typically ask them, how would you feel if someone in your industry started selling or doing the exact same thing with the exact same name?
All right, yeah, I think what is really important to take away from this visual is that you don't it's not like you if you didn't do there's phases of this ownership process. So it's not just like, oh, well, I started selling and I didn't do any of these things. So now I'm screwed. Like you can reverse engineer it. I'm doing a lot of reverse engineering, you all. Like I am not perfect in any way, and you can reverse engineer it. Like you can also, if you are beta testing, there are things you can do to protect yourself without going all in. So there's this process that you can follow that will protect you without it being like overwhelmingly expensive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot
Exactly.
to this. We had one last question. If you have a couple more minutes to hang on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I got you, girl.
All right, cool. Because this was a really good. This was from Alyssa. Alyssa, again, I know Alyssa quite well. She's a amazing brand designer. You all, Alyssa, if you're still on here, drop your link in the chat so everyone can see your beautiful work. And
Yeah.
she says, this might be a long shot. I'm not able to trademark my business name because of competing names. It was one of those things I should have done when I started, but I didn't know any better. I'm in constant fear of having to change my name. Is there anything I can do to protect it at all, or is this all a lost cause? And of course, this is general advice, not legal advice, but I wonder if I kind of know some of what the answer might be.
Who told you couldn't trademark your name? That would be my first question. Did you tell yourself this, or did you go to an IP provider who performed what we call a knockout search and told you couldn't do it? Did you have someone tell you your name is descriptive? Did you have someone tell you your name is generic? Those are the first questions that were popping up as soon as I saw that. Who told you that? Because I worked with it who filed it and it got denied. And then I worked with another who researched and they told me I wouldn't have a chance. I've actually filed something that another attorney told someone that they didn't have a chance, but that's neither here nor there. And they are a successful registration to this day. But I mean, I'm good. I'm not, listen, I tell you, it all depends on your circumstances and all this. This is
Would
not
an
a guarantee.
alternative be protecting the actual logo mark?
Again, I would love to see what was performed and wasn't performed, because there is more than one way to skin a cat, baby. And there is more than one way to get your stuff protected. So, Alyssa, come holler at you, girl. But most people have a misconception, and not you, Alyssa, but just in general, they think that they registered their name of their business like a LLC or something, and then they think that they're protected. But most people don't know that when you register your entity name, that doesn't protect you from others from using that same entity name in a different state. So I always tell people to think about where they registered whatever thing they're doing. So if you registered at the state level, that's the level of your protection. If you registered at a local level, that's the level of that protection. But when you register a trademark is on the national level. So you're protected in all 50 states. So whether you are operating in Maine, Alaska, Texas, and you're in Virginia, it doesn't matter. Your trademark protection will protect you in all 50 states. So if you are in a similar situation to Alyssa, where maybe you have worked with another IP provider, there are different strategies that you could potentially take to, if one door closes, there may be some other ones available to you that can give you the protection you need. And we can even go into a different protection tool like copyright, especially if you are using some graphical elements with that particular logo or phrasing or things. There may be some other tools available to you that trademark, if the door to trademark land is closed, the bouncer at the velvet rope said no, then we may need to go to a different club. Okay, we might need to go to somewhere else. So I thank you all for that question, because that's really good. Because I'm curious, Alyssa. I may go on a rabbit hole and myself, because I be nosy.
But like I'll send you her business name.
Okay.
but yeah, because again, you and I have been exploring this trademark issue, and it is interesting. It seems like there is always, it seems like there's almost always another opportunity, even if like door one isn't the right fit. Like there's probably some other door or window to give you a certain level of protection. I that was something I have not heard other people articulate as clearly as you do. And that actually, for me, going from like, this is a really stressful, scary, expensive, all that, it feels like a risk. And it's, oh, actually, there's ways to mitigate the risk.
It is. And it's not so scary, right? But when people hear lawyer or attorney, their fears are activated because they may have had a not warm reception with one. They may have asked a question, and that attorney may have made them feel small, or made you feel like that wasn't a good question to ask. That is not my mindset. I come from an educator spirit. I just told you I worked at the school district. So I'm all about educating. I'm very big on there is no dumb question, only the questions you don't ask, because I was that kid that always asked a question. I was always curious, going down rabbit holes, everything. So please ask your questions, get the answer, because when you come to Anderson Law Firm, one of the key things you will always learn is my job is to empower you to make better business decisions. My job is to empower you. So that means I have to educate you so you can make better business decisions. Not me, you. Because at the end of the day, this is your business, but I want you to be empowered. And when you feel like, oh my God, I am confident, I have a wealth of knowledge, and I feel good about this decision, you will plow through in a totally different way. If you feel small, meek, you don't know what you don't know, and you're super dependent on someone else to make that decision for you. That won't happen here. So I want you all to know that I know we're almost about I don't know, Sarah, I don't know how much time I have, but
we're out of time, but it's cool.
Oh, I'm so sorry this ran over. I just have
I had nothing after this, because I know the Sarah and Nequosha show.
We are horrible. You guys, we are horrible.
Yeah, but I actually love that we touched on, specifically, we called out poor Jamar again, because but I love that we touched on like this idea that there is, once you have protection, the doors just continue to, it is empowering, because they're so
come on, be friends. Come on, let's do. Come on.
Because there is so much that you can do once you have this, as because I say, like, so the way I talk about my work is, what we're doing is developing a toolkit. And that toolkit can look like a lot of different things. That can look like a framework for your business. That can look like a content strategy. That can look like, an SEO, like SEO optimizations. That can look like your messaging. And we are developing a toolkit, so when you need it, you can turn around and reach into your toolbox, like my demonstration, reach into your toolbox and grab the tool that you need. And so as your business grows, you can continue to reach for the right tools. And the law is very similar in that way, and especially intellectual property law and business law, where you've got, okay, like, all right, I'm launching a new program. I need to make sure that I've got the right contract. Okay, put this tool on the table. Got to make sure that I'm not infringing on anyone else's copyright. Put this tool on the table. Like, there's all these, like, so we're laying out our marketing and our business strategy and our legal tools, so that then every time we're taking that next step, whether it's growth or scaling, or in my case, where I feel like I have a weird business where I'm not like growing, I'm trying to refine, right? But it's always having those right tools in front of you, so that you can continue to reach whatever that endpoint is that you want to reach. And that's, I think, something really important for you all to keep in mind.
Most definitely. And don't limit yourself.
Yeah.
That is one of the key things that I'm battling constantly is, Nequosha, I didn't get the knowledge and make a data form in decision. When we make emotional based decisions, we are often not moving in the right direction. So when we make data informed decisions, then we know what's in front of us and we know what our options are. So emotions will lie to us. They are fleeting, they dissolve, they're
They're
friction.
self-sabotaging sometimes.
Extremely. Your subconscious will really mess with you as you grow. Because I have this analogy I shared with Sarah. It's like elevators, right? As you grow.
I told Jamar this analogy. Okay, go for it. It's so good.
So when you grow, when you start, your elevator has so many floors it can only go up, because that's based on your personal experience, right? This is just as far as you know. But as you grow, you get a new level in your elevator. And as you get a new level, you got a new floor. So now your perspective is totally different. You're seeing things you have never saw before. You are now exposed. And so when you encounter people, it's sort of like when you want more for them than they are cognitive of, be aware that their elevator stops at a certain floor that you've already surpassed. So you're seeing things at a higher level that they've never saw before. And it's hard for you because you're like, come on, girl, it's possible.
Like,
Man, you
push that button for floor 21.
Theirs stop at 12. So you have to be comfortable with knowing that their elevator shaft stops at 12 and you're on floor 21 and you're looking at the ocean. The sunset look different for you. Heck, when we go to the summer solstice tomorrow or today, I think it's tomorrow, and the aurora and all of that, the lights and the stars going to be shining in a different way. You're going to see them much brighter because you're closer to them, because you are elevating at a different level. And that doesn't mean you're better. And it doesn't mean you don't want the people to elevate. It just means that you have a different floor. So I want you all to think about that. Understand that your elevator can keep going and keep going. There is no stopping you.
It's in a really big building.
Extremely, baby. And we got a penthouse view. And I like the snacks. So with that said, I want you all to know that I typically do this when I speak, and people always ask me, and it's called, I created a URL just for you all, and it's called review my IP backslash, I think it's creator. So review my IP backslash creator. No, content. Sorry. If you go content.
Do you have that link that you can?
Yes, I'm dropping it in the chat. Is that a good place to put it? Okay. So I put it in the chat. It's review my IP / content. If you go there, you'll be able to get the equivalent of a Spark session like Sarah with me for a reduced rate, which is an extreme reduced rate. So I want you all to take advantage of that. As long as Sarah keeps this link up, I'll keep it up and she can tell me when she takes it down or whatever. But take advantage of that. In my review my IP sessions, we can talk about some tools that may be available to your particular situation, especially IP tools. We can maybe talk about risk exposure, because you don't know what you don't know. And I know if you're anything like me, you just need somebody to roadmap it and you will follow. I will do step 1, step 2, step 3. I just need somebody to tell me what the steps are. I'm a great student. I just need the rules of engagement. So if you need the rules of engagement and you need someone to walk with you and take away some of that uncertainty, I'm your girl. I am like this all the time. So
it's true.
if you follow me on socials, you'll see. And if you follow me on Instagram, you get to travel with me, because that's where I put my travel blog. So yeah, I'm excited because I'm excited for your growth. The world needs you. The world needs your gift. But I want you to own it so you can leverage it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Nequosha. This was
Thank
wonderful.
you. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you taking so much time. I know your time is so valuable, and I am really excited for people. I know a lot of folks couldn't make this live, so I'm really excited for people to come and watch the replay.
Hi, replays.
And get to see all of your insights. And I hope that everyone feels like all this legal messiness is actually much more obtainable, and that there are strategic steps that you can take all throughout your business journey. So it's not, if you feel like you haven't done enough, it's fine. It's fine. There's always a place to start and continue to grow and find the right thing for you right now.
Let's just start.
Yeah. All right, y'all. As always, thank you everyone for joining us. You all are wonderful. Thank you, Jamar, for continuing to be the person that we give a hard time to on these. And and I think Nequosha, you have a new bestie. Jamar wants to be your friend. So
Hey, boo. Let's talk snacks.
and take care, everyone.